nearly 600 drivers, over 140 cars, over 15 and a half miles of road. Today on the podcast, we prepare to go 24-hour racing, German style.
Hop in, buckle up, and get ready to lay it on the line. This is Not Speeding, Just Qualifying, a podcast that's just as fast as it sounds.
What's good, family? I'm David Lawrence. Welcome to an all-new episode of the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast. I appreciate you for joining me today. Before I get started, make sure your qualifying setup is all dialed in, ready to go for pole. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel or search Not Speeding, Just Qualifying in the podcast section of the YouTube Music app to subscribe today. Let's jump straight into our in-lap for this week. Sector 1, of course, is the 93rd 24 Hours of Le Mans. After Cadillac locked out the front row, the race quickly became a Ferrari affair. A 499P was always at or near the front of the field all race long. And despite the best efforts from Toyota, Cadillac, and Porsche, Ferrari would capture its third straight Le Mans victory, its 12th in totality. But not by the factory cars, but by the privateer Inter number 83 AF Corsa trio of Robert Kubica, Yiffy and Phil Hansen. An LMP2 Inter-Europol competition overcame a penalty they accrued on their final pit stop to beat VDS Panis Racing to class honors. Third in LMP2 and topping the Pro-Am subclass was Spike the Dragon, better known as AO Racing by TF Sport. Finally, in LMGT3, Manthey Racing defends their class title, becoming the first repeat winners in LMGT3 this season in the World Endurance Championship. Speaking of which, they return next month with the 6 Hours of Sao Paulo in Brazil. Sector 2 sends us south of the border as NASCAR visits Mexico City. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez was a happy hunting ground for Team Trackhouse drivers. On Saturday, Daniel Suarez wrecked his primary car in Xfinity Series qualifying. He had to start dead last on the field in his backup and only came up through the field to the front. Suarez then held his nerve in a late race duel with Joe Gibbs Racing's Taylor Gray to take a popular win on home soil. On Sunday, his Kiwi teammate Shane Van Gisbergen was the man to beat. He won the pole, he went on to win stage 2, and then in the final stage pulled away from the field to the tune of 16 seconds. SVG's win on Sunday in Mexico City, the first points race held for the Cup Series outside the United States since 1958, makes Van Gisbergen the 10th different winner of the season with 10 races to go until the playoffs. NASCAR now shifts his attention to Pocono for a triple header weekend. Finally, in Sector 3, let's talk about some racing on American soil, specifically IndyCar and the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. Throughout the night, it looked like we would see a new winner as David Malukas and Connor Daly were up front fighting for the win early and often. But in the closing stages, Kyle Kirkwood emerged as a contender. Thanks to his 27 pit crew's amazing final pit stop, he would got Pato Ward, Christian Rasmussen, and Scott Dixon. As Callum Ilot's bet to make it to the finish on fuel failed with 4 laps to go, Kirkwood inherited the lead for good. For Kirkwood, his third win of this 2025 season, his 5th career win in IndyCar, would be his first on an oval. Let's see if Kirkwood can keep his winning ways going as IndyCar heads to Road America. That completes our in-lap Motorsports Weekend Review. June 2025 is the month of 24-hour endurance races. 4 24-hour races around the world taking place in the span of 5 weeks. The month kicked off with the lesser-known Fuji 24 Hours. That was followed by the biggest endurance race in the world, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, as we've already mentioned, taking place this past weekend. Now, the second half of June features a pair of prominent 24-hour classics taking place on two of the world's most iconic circuits in back-to-back weekends. Today in our Hot Lap, I will focus on the third 24-hour race this month and the second in a stretch of 3 straight weekends of 24-hour races this month. That race in question is the 24 Hours of the Nurburgring. This story starts in the 1920s, when a permanent racing facility was proposed out of the spirit of the Eifelrennen, a race new at the time that was taking place on public roads in towns throughout the region in western Germany. Construction on this circuit, weaving through the Eifel Mountains near the town of Nurburgring, began in 1925 and was completed by 1927. Dubbed the Nurburgring due to its proximity to the town, the circuit will host the aforementioned Eifelrennen races, motorcycles, and Grand Prix racing, both pre-World War and Formula One after World War II, amongst other events. By the end of the 1960s, the ADAC, also known as ADAC, which is known as the German Automobile Club, by the way, ADAC is the German equivalent to the AAA here in the United States. They also just happen to organize racing events. ADAC saw the success of 24-hour races at Le Mans, Spa, and Daytona before them, and they decided to organize a 24-hour race of their own. They will host it on the Nürburgring, of course, on the same famous Nordschleife, German for Northern Loop, as the German Grand Prix in the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometers of the World Sports Car Championship. But unlike those events, this race would be given a more amateurish feel, and that was by design, as ADAC targeted smaller teams and amateur drivers to compete in the race. And despite the race gaining an increased presence from professional drivers and teams over the years, the race does maintain its amateur spirit to this day. The 24 Hours was originally a touring car race. BMW was the brand to have in the race's early years. Between 1970 to 1999, the marquee captured 16 of its race record 20 wins during that time period. Porsche would taste some of the early success, and Ford with their Sierra had a run of successive victories in the early 80s. But as we approached the new millennium, sports cars began taking over the Nürburgring. Case in point, 8 of Porsche's 13 wins have come since the year 2000. But Porsche weren't the only ones. The famed Viper ran under the Chrysler badge in Europe, won 3 times in the early 2000s. Audi was the car to have in the 2010s, winning 5 times over a span of 8 years. Heck, it even took sports cars from Mercedes to finally win this German race, taking top honors in 2013 and 2016. All that to say, GT sports cars are here to stay as the race's top class. Speaking of classes, there are numerous classes and types of cars that take part in this race. The classes range from FI GT3 and GT4 to one-make spec Cup vehicles. There are TCR spec touring cars, production vehicles that regularly participate in the track's endurance series, and even a class for vehicles powered by alternative fuels. This race's calling card is the sheer size of the field. The Nürburgring can always boast that it has the biggest field of any 24-hour race in the world. The race has seen as many as 200 plus cars taking the start of the race, and this is possible due to the size of the track they race on. The 24 Studenstrecke, forgive me if I butcher that German, which translates to the 24-hour loop, is a combination of the Grand Prix circuit and the Nordschleife, measuring out at 25.3 kilometers or 15.7 miles. That's nearly double the length of Circuit de la Sarthe that hosts the 24 Hours of Le Mans. You can definitely fit 200 cars in a long lap like that with no problem. However, starting with the 2024 race, the field has been capped at 150 cars. This is due, in large part, to the race being a part of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, or IGTC. It is a series of international endurance races running GT3 regulations promoted by the Stefan Rattel organization, or SRO. I have plenty more on them in the future. 2025 will mark the second year the race will be held as part of the IGTC, and a very stacked entry list of 141 cars are set to take on the 24 hours this weekend. As with every year, the drivers in this race exhibit the spirit of the race itself. Beyond the professionals that will compete for overall glory in the GT3 spec SP9 class are names that include former Indy 500 starter Pippa Mann, Samantha Tan, who American sports car fans know from GT World Challenge America and IMSA, the resilient Robert Wickens, and even a pair of well-known YouTube content creators. Jimmy Broadbent and Stephen Brown better known as Super GT, no, not the series, are well known for their sim racing content, the two combining for over 2 million YouTube subscribers. Recently, the duo have been racing together in the Nurburgring Endurance Series since 2023. The plan this year, as it was last year, is to run the 24 hours together. Hopefully Steve stays in line this year after he got kicked out for ignoring a code 60 in qualifying last year. Speaking of Super GT, now I'm referring to the series. There is a decent amount of Japanese interest at the race, as there is every year. Super GT regulars coming over to Germany for the race include Frenchman Giuliano Alesi, Kota Sasaki, Kazuya Oshima, and Hiroki Ishira. From a manufacturer's standpoint, Toyota and Subaru will have a presence with entries in this year's field. And what about American interests, you may ask? Over a dozen Americans will be taking part in this year's running. Most of them will be in the lower classes. If you follow American sports car racing, some names will be familiar to you. There's Tracy Chrome, the former team owner whose lime green cars became mainstays in the Grand Am Rolex Series and American Le Mans Series. If you've been following Michelin Pilot Challenge this year, you may recognize Mason Filippi and Bryson Morris. They are in the race as Brian Herta Autosport will be helping Hyundai field one of their two TCR class entries. They will be a teammate with the aforementioned Robert Wickens. This had to be a big opportunity they couldn't pass up, as the two are foregoing this weekend's Michelin Pilot Challenge race at Watkins Glen to race in Germany. Now, let me rewind and go back to the race's history, and let's talk about some unique milestones. In 1973, the race was ran in two 8-hour heats. It was split basically by an 8-hour break for the nighttime hours. One of the winners that year, some guy by the name of Niki Lauda. Surely you haven't heard of him, right? After Nicky's win in 73, the race would be canceled the next 2 years in 1974 and 75 due to the energy crisis of the time. The race also would be canceled in 1983 as the Nurburgring was undergoing a massive renovation. Fast forward to 1996, when Sabine Wreck, who would later become known as Sabine Schmitz, would become the first woman to win a 24-hour race overall when she was part of the winning team, a feat she would repeat the following year in 1997. Before Audi won Le Mans in 2006, BMW won the Nürburgring 24 in 1998 with a diesel-powered BMW 3 Series, the first ever diesel-powered vehicle to win a 24-hour race. Even the last 2 years have seen plenty of history. 2023 saw the first win for Ferrari in the race, and they set a new distance record in doing so, covering over 4,100 kilometers. In contrast, 2024 saw a record for the shortest distance covered when the race was stopped just before 11:30 p.m. Saturday night due to thick fog, and the race would be stopped for the next 14 hours. The race would get back going again, but after 5 laps under the safety car, the field returned to the pits for good, and with 55 minutes to go in the race was called after just 50 laps or 1,268 kilometers. In short, the best way to describe the Nurburgring 24 hours, I would say Oktoberfest on wheels. There's plenty to witness both on the track and off, with the fan zone, fans camping all across the Nordschleife all week long, making the nighttime hours its own separate party on race night, and various events all across town and the region hosted by local businesses and competing manufacturers. I'm told the Germans know how to throw events like anyone else in the world, and going to the 24 hours is a journey any motorsports fan has to make at least once in their life. I hope to make that journey soon, but until then, I'm happy to watch and follow along from home. I cannot wait to watch this weekend as the race, like all other 24-hour races, stand out and have their own unique flavor. So family, I hope you enjoy the Nürburgring 24 hours, because this 24-hour race is truly the race for everyone. If I piqued your interest and you are interested in watching this year's 24 Hours of Nürburgring, the race starts at 4 p.m. Central European Time on Saturday. That's 10 a.m. Eastern and 7 a.m. Pacific here in the U.S. The race will be live streamed in English on the race's YouTube channel. Last year, the English YouTube feed was geo-blocked in the United States. So if that is the case again this year, you can catch all the action streaming on Racer Plus. Finally, here is this week's Outlap preview of the upcoming Motorsports weekend and where you can watch all the series here in the United States. The Repco Supercars Championship is at Hidden Valley for the Darwin Triple Crown. Catch the action Saturday and Sunday. Subscribe to stream on SuperView. Formula E is in Indonesia for the Jakarta E-Prix. You can catch all the Saturday and Sunday coverage on Roku channel, and you can see tape delayed coverage Sunday on CBS. The TCR World Tour is in Monza for the Race of Italy. Catch all the Saturday and Sunday coverage, stream it from the TCR Live YouTube channel. The British GT Championship is at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Saturday and Sunday races can be streamed live on the GT World YouTube channel. The British Touring Car Championship is at Bolton Park this weekend. Catch all the action Sunday live on Racer Network and Racer Plus. MotoGP is in Mugello for the Italian Grand Prix. You can catch the Saturday Sprint and Sunday Grand Prix on FS1. If you want to catch practice qualifying and all the Moto2 and Moto3 action, subscribe to stream on MotoGP Video Pass. This week is the famed Pikes Peak Hill Climb. You can stream daily action now through Sunday on Racer Plus. The NHRA Mission Food Drag Racing Series Virginia Nationals is this weekend. You can catch the eliminations Sunday on Fox. The IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship returns with the Salen's 6 Hours of the Glen from Watkins Glen International. Catch all the action on Sunday. Stream the entire race on Peacock, and you can watch the first half of the 6 hour on NBC. The NTT IndyCar Series takes on the Grand Prix of Road America. Catch all the action Sunday live on Fox. And rounding out the weekend, NASCAR has a triple header at Pocono Raceway. Catch the trucks Friday on FS1, the Xfinity Series Saturday on the CW, and Cup Racing you can stream Sunday on Amazon Prime Video. Just a reminder, check online for final broadcast times for each race you are interested in. All right, family. Thank you for tuning in and listening to today's episode. Before we go, are you listening and have a topic or a series you want us to cover on the show? Drop a comment on any of our episodes and let us know. You can also reach out to us by email at dalmotorsports@gmail.com. The email address again, dalmotorsports@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you all. We would also love for you all to connect with us on social media. We are on Blue Sky, X, Instagram, and TikTok, all with the same handle at NSJQ Podcast. Subscribe to our show so you don't miss whenever we drop new content for the pod. Also, like and share our stuff. The more you like and share, the more YouTube will start recommending our episodes to others. Lastly, if you want to follow me on my personal social media handles, links will be in the description box to this episode in the show notes. I will talk to you all next time for another episode of the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast. Until then, I'm David Lawrence. Always remember, you're not living life to the fullest until you're going flat out. So long, everyone.